It is IDAHOBIT Day, International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, Transphobia, any prejudice, I guess, against the LGBTQI community. So worth thinking about today that in the wake of that rally, the rally that Moira-Deeney went to, what have you made of that rally? What have you made of what happened to Moira-Deeney? In the days after that rally, the LGBTQ Suicide Prevention Service for Mind Australia, they got a month's worth of referrals in the 2 days after that rally. So that rally had a huge impact on the trans community and those beyond it. Katie Larsen is the Senior Manager of Inclusion and Participation at Mind Australia. Thanks for joining us, Katie.
Thanks, Raf. Nice to be here.
How unusual was that spike of calls in the wake of the rally?
Oh, look, it's unusual in terms of the volume and the time. Unfortunately, though, it's not unusual for our service to see a spike in calls and an increased need in direct response to anti-trans and gender diverse and LGBTIQ plus community generally rhetoric that comes out debating lives and rights. It puts enormous pressure on the community, and unfortunately we do see it as a real immediate impact for our service and for people in our community. Tell me a bit more about what that means. If someone's calling your service, what's going on for them? What's the impact? Yeah, well, the service that we operate is one that supports people with thoughts or intentions of suicide, so it can be at any point in that process. The service itself at Mind is staffed entirely by LGBTIQA plus community members who have their own lived experience of mental health issues and thoughts of suicide, so they can get in touch with someone directly that understands what their experience is, and we can provide them life-affirming care immediately through the service. I've never done so many stories, Katie, about the trans community and about drag performers reading storybooks. I get the sense, and I'm very, very serious about this, it's a huge issue in America. It's clearly becoming a big issue here. What's the impact going to be? Well, the impact already is enormous. Trans and gender diverse people in the LGBTIQ plus community more broadly don't experience higher rates of suicide and distress because they're trans or part of the community. It's interrelated with social, cultural and political environments that are often hostile and even violent. So the more that we have these kinds of conversations where it feels like, I guess from a community perspective, it feels like everyone feels they have a right to an opinion, and that's really dangerous. We do need a process around education and myth-busting and information that guides understanding about the experiences of trans and gender diverse people, but we need to do that much more safely than we're doing it right now. How would we do it? I'm sorry, I've only got a few minutes, but what could we do? What sort of conversation do you think would help? Well, I think starting with what we're doing today, which is centring the mental health impacts in the conversation, not what people are afraid of around trans and gender diversity. I think there's a number of organisations like ours and across the LGBTIQ plus community who provide direct support from a community lens. So talking with us and really understanding how we can work together to educate community and create awareness for people that this is not something you need to be afraid of. Trans and gender diverse people are people like all of us trying to live their lives, and it's a part of who they are. It's not all of who they are. And there's an enormous amount to celebrate within community too. The contribution and resilience of trans and gender diverse people, not only now, but only over decades of advocacy, is immense. And if people, I'm getting texts now saying, well, you want to deny people the right to have a debate, what would you say? I don't think it should be a debate. Absolutely not. We're talking about people's rights to live as they are. I think the idea that it should be a debate is causing harm. What we end up with is people with little to no experience or knowledge about trans and diversity having an opinion. Now, what we have an opportunity to do is to move it from debate to discussion and learning. And that's what we'd urge, is an opportunity to think about what does that actually mean, what can we learn, how can we build an understanding in community and affirm people in the community to live the lives that they want to live. What would you like? What's a message you'd like people to keep in mind? Look, I think every time we open up these discussions, it causes real and immediate harm. I'd really like people to be aware of how we can all take a step back and listen to those most impacted by this, the trans and gender diverse community themselves. Let's make sure when we're having these discussions, we're hearing from them first. And I think if we can try and create a culture of a bit more safety and kindness in how we think about and learn about things which might be unfamiliar for people, that would be enormously impactful and important for people's mental health. Thanks for your time, Katie. Thanks so much, Raf. Katie Larsen, Senior Manager of Inclusion and Participation at Mind Australia. It's their LGBTQ suicide prevention service. They had a huge ramp up in calls in the days after that rally, the one that was at the centre of the issues between Moira Deeming and the Liberal Party. Keris answered the Bureau. Keris,